Yes guys, what's going on? Mixed by Jocelyn here and welcome back to another episode of Mixed Up, the show where I show you how to mix down tracks in Logic Pro X. And today I'm going to be breaking down all the plugins that are in my mix bus and why I use them. Let's get cracking. Okay, cool. So I've got my project up here. This is a tune. I used this in the last video. It's called I Wanna by Toby featuring Notes. It's an amazing track. I had loads of fun mixing it. It's out now. I'll have the link below so you guys can check that out. But let's get cracking on the mix bus. So my first in the chain is an interesting one. And I have here the Buster SE by Analog Obsession. And this is a clutch plugin. So this is basically my glue compressor, just helping me tuck in everything and give that last little bit of control to my mix. I do use other compressors, just being for real, but for the sake of this video, I wanted to show you guys this one because this one does get on my mix bus an awful lot and it's free.
It is free.
Yes, I said that right. It's free. You can go to Analog Obsession. That he has an option to like sign up to his Patreon and give him a subscription price. I think it's like $15 or something like that. But this plugin is actually free and all of the plugins he makes is for free and the payment is just optional. So shout out to Analog Obsession. He is a total 1 out of G. And I love this compressor. It's basically an emulation of the SSL bus compressor. For the sake of this video not being too long, I'm not going to go into exactly how I'm setting it up. If you guys want a more in-depth version of any of the plugins that I'm talking about in this episode, please let me know in the comments and I'll happily make a dedicated video to that plugin. But let's get into it. Let's get the cans on and let's have a listen to exactly what this is doing to my mix.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna
So that's off with it on.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever. Yeah. Yo, keep going non-stop.
On,
Might take
off.
a lunch break, but I'm on job. Legends don't go nowhere. Steve Jobs, as long as I phone you, then it's all love. Wanna take the whole wide world by storm. All past haters in a lamb.
So as you can hear, it's just sort of subtly gluing the track together, just blending the track together nicely to give it a much more professional and glued feeling to it. I'm not overworking the compressor at all. It's like maxing around like -3, -4 dB compression. You can see the settings here that I've used. You know, it's standard sort of like mix bus settings, a slow attack. I like to use the auto release, mine a low ratio, and I'm just blending in the threshold to get what I want out. I might use a bit of makeup gain just to give it a bit of boost if I feel like it needs it, if I want to drive into other plugins more, but at the moment I'm going to leave it off and let the other plugins in my chain gain the volume. So that's the Buster SE, the first in my chain. Next in the chain is the Black Box. You've heard me talk about this plugin a lot online. I absolutely rate it. I love it. Me and Devon had a brilliant conversation about on my podcast, Mixed Opinions. Shameless plug. Check it out. But I love this plugin. Again, it adds nice saturation, adds a bit of excitement to my mix. And most importantly, what I find is with my settings that I've got here, and obviously you tweak for each individual mix, I'm gaining a lot of perceived volume. Like it's adding volume, it's adding energy, it's adding aggression without sort of like pushing my meter too much, if you see what I'm saying. So let's A/B this and hear exactly what it's doing to the mix.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever. Yeah. I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever.
So you can really hear just a slight boost in the volume. It feels a lot more like up front. It feels a lot more punctuant. Is that a word?
Oh, amazing. It's in.
I don't know. But you know what I'm trying to say. And the vocals definitely, to me, they're like cutting through a lot more with this plugin being on, and it's just adding that nice layer of saturation to it. So that is the Black Box, definite clutch plugin. This is by Plugin Alliance. I've got the subscription service. I couldn't recommend it enough. You get like an ungodly amount of plugins for, you know, I think it's like works out like £15 or like $29. I might even be wrong. Harry will put the actual price up on the screen. But yeah, in my opinion, I'll go on record, I would say like it is probably the best subscription service for plugins out there at the moment, like because they have everything on there. It's brilliant. I can't recommend it enough. But that's the Black Box. Next in my chain, I have Spectre, which is a newer plugin for me. I've only just started using this in the last few months, but I quickly have grown to love it. Again, it's sort of acting as a saturation. It's an EQ, harmonic EQ, so you're basically bringing up different frequencies. So, you know, just like the black box, it's adding like saturation and harmonics to the mix, but you have much more control in this EQ laid out format. So kind of similar to like, I think it's Saturn by FabFilter sort of thing, but this one I am loving, especially if I want to like bring out a bit more top end of my mix. You know, I might reference it on my Apple headphones or some other speakers and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling I'm losing a bit of that shine, it's sounding a little bit dull. I can bring up 10k or, you know, bring up some low mids and it just pops out of the mix. And an interesting thing about this feature is where it says here solid, you can click this and you have all these different types of like harmonic saturation. So, you know, you can go with warm, tube, tape, classic B, digital. There's a load to choose from, so you can really home in and pick that right kind of sound for you. So for me, I might have it set to like tube or warm on the low mids, and then I'll keep it like solid, classical, maybe even like digital at the top, just to really give it that high end shine and that hi-fi feel. But let's tweak it, let's bring it in and see what it's doing to our mix.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna
Straight away, you're getting crazy high end there. It's sounding nice, it's sounding crisp, it's sounding expensive.
I'll forever keep it going.
And then we use this band here. We'll change it to tube just so you guys can hear it, or warm, and we'll bring up like the low mids, try to add a little bit more body to our record.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever. Yeah. I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep
AB this.
I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever. Yeah, yeah. Yo, keep going non-stop. Might take a lunch break, but I'm on job. Legends don't go nowhere. Steve Jobs. As long as I phone you, then it's all love.
So straight away, just with those two bands working, so I think we're looking at like just under 3 dB. You can see here how much you're boosting it by. It's not a massive boost, but it's definitely giving an effect. You can really hear much more roundness, much more body, and then definitely a high shine on that. Like really clutch plugin. I love this and I can't recommend it enough. That's Spectre by Waves Factory. Check that out. Nice one. The next on the chain, you guys knew this one was coming. It's the God Particle. Talked about this in the previous video. We'll have that link below. I give a detailed description of exactly what I think about this plugin and exactly how I use it, but we've got it here and I'm going to A/B it for you guys. But if you want more information on it, make sure you go and check out my previous video.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever. Yeah. I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever.
You know, now with the God Particle on, I might feel like the high boost I done on the Spectre is maybe a little bit too much, so I might even pull that down a little bit.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever.
And just because I know there's going to be guys in there like, oh yeah, but what about the volume match, like because of the gain, I will show you guys now. So let me just turn off the limiter.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever. Yeah. I'll forever keep it.
And then with the limiter,
I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever. Yeah, yeah. Yo, keep going.
and that's the God Particle. As I said, if you really want me to go into detailed breakdown of it, please do check out my last video that I made on it. It's a full 10-minute video, and I'd really appreciate if you guys would check that out. Now, the last two plugins on the chain are less about audio processing and more about checking, referencing, things like that. So the first one we have here is Streamliner. This is another plugin by Plugin Alliance, and this has become an essential part of my master bus, especially if I'm the one that's going to be mastering it. I will always do my master bus processing, and then if it's getting mastered by someone else, I'll just take the limiter off and maybe dial back on some of the settings and just like communicate with the master engineer to how they want it. But if I'm going to be the one that's mastering it, this has to be on my chain because I have to reference it. So a big problem that I was having before is I'd be doing these great mixes and they'd sound really good in my speakers in my room. I'd test them on my Apple headphones, you know, my car, stuff like that, and then it would get uploaded to Spotify and I'd be like, oh my god, like I feel like I'm losing dynamics, I'm losing this, I'm losing that. And I was looking for a good plugin plugin to basically emulate the codec, what Spotify and all these other streaming platforms were putting on. And this is the one that came up, and I've been using this for about a month now, and I cannot recommend it enough. You know, I literally will be finishing my mix, I will have this on and I'll have my headphones in. Now I'm listening to the mix to like what 90% of the population are going to be listening to it on. Like most people have like a pair of these kind of headphones, they're going to be listening to it on Spotify, they're going to have the normalization mode ticked on. So I'm making sure that it sounds good, it sounds dynamic, and it sounds punchy with all that stuff on. So then I know I can, when I turn this off and I send it to the ICE and they upload it to their distributor, it's going to translate and it's still going to sound good on Spotify. Otherwise you're just blindly hoping that your mix translates well. So this is definitely a clutch plugin, like 110% you need this plugin. So I'll show you how it works. Obviously here you have a bunch of meters. We've got the LUFS, which is really clutch. It's important to know like sort of like roughly where we're bouncing at. I'm sort of like aiming between 9 and 8 LUFS at the moment for my bounces. So that's where I'm trying to work towards. That's where I feel like, again, it bounces out and I get a lot of like perceived volume, especially when it's being normalized within Spotify. And then we have like our dynamic metering here. And then here we have basically the codec simulator, emulator, whatever you want to call it. And we have a bunch of different streaming platforms to choose from with all their different codecs and LUFS targets that they have. So Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, you get it. And then we can actually even come up here and there's even more to choose from. One of the ones that I'm checking at the moment, I go on social media, I make sure it sounds good on Instagram, because a lot of people are using music on their reels and stuff now, and you want to hear how it sounds like on your Instagram, and you want to make sure that it's translating well and, you know, is basically being heard in the best light. So again, I will check it, I'll reference it, maybe play it from my phone, XYZ, because I do a bounce with it on and then play it from my phone. Yeah, it sounds good, cool. You're just 110% confident in delivering your mixes and knowing they're going to sound well. But that, I've done enough rambling, let's hear what it's doing.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever.
Now this is with the codecs on. So now it's taking away the information that Spotify will take away from it to make the format smaller. So obviously it can stream faster and we can actually listen to the artifacts that it's removing.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep
So
it.
that is what it will sound like after Spotify has run the codec through it, taken out all of the information that it needs to take out to make the file smaller so it can be streamed easier, and we can actually listen to the artifacts that it's going to be removing. So all of that is going to be removed from your mix. So again, it's good to know this stuff, do you know what I mean? Because maybe we can compensate and adjust our mix in a way that makes it so we know it's going to translate better. Now the clutch point, we can match it to the LUFS so we can hear dynamically and how loud it feels on Spotify.
I'll forever keep it going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever.
You can hear that jump. When I turn it off, that's it hitting the LUFS that I'm actually mastering it to right now. And then when we match it, how much is it dropping by? So, you know, at this point, I'll then go and pull up Spotify, have the normalization on, go and get a track that is like referenceable, like, you know, maybe another Note song or Afro Swing or Amapiano, something like that that's popular, that's good, and I like the mix. And I'll A/B the two and I'll be like, okay, cool. We are in the same realm. Like if these play next to each other, you're not going to notice a difference. And it's going to sound as punchy, if not more punchy, and loud.
I'll forever keep
That's
it
it on.
going. I'll forever keep it going. I wanna do this forever. I wanna do this forever.
So again, I've spoken about this for too long now. I'll do a more in-depth video on it if you guys want it, but a super, super, super important plugin, especially when you're releasing music on these streaming services. And it, you know, just helps us get a clearer picture of this like baffling system of codecs and streaming services and everything that it's doing to change your music. Now the last thing that I have in my chain, and I keep this here, is ListenTo. And I have this here because for a few reasons, I just keep it in my chain. It allows me to seamlessly stream my entire mix anywhere in the world. So I can copy and send this link to Notes. I can get recalls from him live on a call and he can hear it as clear as day on his system. We can go with Toby, or I can then stream it to my phone. I can go into my car, play it, and I don't have to do all of this bouncing and rendering all the time. It's just super easy. I'm just hit play, I stream it, and then I can listen to it wherever I want. Notes can listen to it, Toby can listen to it, any of my clients, their A&Rs, whoever needs to do it, and I don't have to keep doing all these different bounces, if you see what I'm saying. So again, super, super, super important plugin. This never leaves my chain, and I do literally use this every single day. That's audio movers, and the plugin is ListenTo. Brilliant. And just a little plug, if you guys do want to try this out, you can use my code Mixed Opinions 2024 or at their checkout, and you'll get a month free of this plugin. So make sure you guys check that out. But that is essentially my entire mix bus. Most of the time it does change, but at the moment, as far as the second month in 2024, this is what my mix bus is looking like. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm in those comments, and I am answering questions. And if you want to know anything more, or me to do a more in-depth video on any of the plugins that I've spoken about today, let me know and I will happily do that for you. Send that in the comments below. Make sure you give the video a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'm dropping these videos weekly and my podcast weekly, so the channel is getting uploaded twice. So plenty of pro audio content for you guys, and have a blessed day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Safe.